Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great. I trust them, and I really recommend them highly to you. So take the next 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit each one of these sponsors if you're not already using them. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to thank our good friends at Hometown Ticketing for their support. Hometown is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes love the videos. Our parents love the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the return on investment? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with great success. Coaches loved it. Parents loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's snapraise.com. We'd like to thank our friends at Gipper. You know, your students are on social media, and if they're not seeing content celebrating their accomplishments and promoting your program, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. Their team will have you creating world-class content in seconds, and it's so easy, even I can do it. The website is Gipper.com. Make sure you mention the podcast. We want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. I've said it before, if you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to share your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today. We want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, completely online, just 20 months. And while he was earning his master's degree, Ohio University also provided 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. To get more information, just go to ohio.edu/info/MAA. We want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. We want to thank our friends at Home Campus for their support. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, rosters, scores, communication. How about student athlete eligibility and clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus does all of these, does them better, does them faster. And all you have to do to get started is go to homecampus.com. That's homecampus.com. And we want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. You know, athletic directors already get feedback, but most of the time it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% that supports your program. And that information is incredibly valuable, especially when you're meeting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to Wisconsin today, and we're going to be visiting with MaKynna Lesinski. MaKynna's teacher and I'm going to say formally a coach at Rothschild High School, varsity volleyball coach. Um, has a pretty cool background in athletics and other things at an early point in her career. We connected through a post that MaKynna made in one of the Facebook athletic director groups that I'm a part of, a contributor to. And as we get into the interview, you're going to, hear all about that. But very excited to have MaKynna Lesinski join the podcast. Welcome, MaKynna.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, for our listeners, we're recording this on August 22nd. Here in Florida, we've been going hard at it for 2 weeks. In Wisconsin, they're not going to be starting till after Labor Day. But it's still going to be very timely when you listen to it. MaKynna, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Since you're at the start of your career, maybe take us up through your own high school days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the MaKynna Lesinski origin story?
Okay, well, my excuse me, my origin story. I am from central Wisconsin, Stevens Point to be exact. I graduated high school in 2014. I love sports, was a big athlete growing up, grew a deep connection with volleyball, as you can tell by my story. I played club volleyball since I could till the very end, till I couldn't anymore. I went to a Division I high school known as SPASH, Stevens Point Area Senior High. I was fortunate enough to play on the JV level as a freshman. At our schools, back when I played, there was a freshman team, or they could pull you up to the actual high school team since the freshmen are not at the school. So I was very fortunate to be one of the few athletes that got to be pulled up as a freshman with a few others. So I got to play JV for 2 years and then varsity for 2, my junior and senior year. I was a setter back in the day. Let's think high school. Then we get into college. I continued to play volleyball at the club level at UW Oshkosh. So that was a lot of fun. Made some of my best friendships through volleyball. To this day, I am still so close with so many of those girls. Then I got my bachelor's from UW Oshkosh in teaching in Phys Ed Health and Adaptive PE. Then I started teaching a little bit and got my master's from UW West Virginia in sports management.
Okay. I want to go back to your college later on in our next segment, but growing up there in Wisconsin, again, I've been to Wisconsin once. So kind of create the setting for our listeners. Was it a small town setting, suburbs? What was that like in the neighborhood growing up?
Okay. Well, SPASH is a really big high school. In my graduating class, there was about 520 kids. So pretty big, very competitive, especially when it comes to sports at the Division I level. So if you weren't giving it your best effort, there was someone there that was willing to do that was going to just take your spot right from you. So it was a very competitive setting.
Yeah, you mentioned that you also participated in club. That's very common in the volleyball world. Was that a struggle to balance the two programs? I've had some very, very good and let's say cooperative club coaches at the schools where I coached, and they really worked hard to support the high school program. That's not always the case. What was your experience balancing club and high school?
When I was playing, I had a great experience. I did volleyball and softball were my sports, so I had the winter off. So club volleyball was my winter sport. So as soon as the season ended and first weekend in November when we had state volleyball, unfortunately my team never got that far, but that next weekend club volleyball rolled around and it was just kind of a norm for me to play volleyball from August all the way till March or April.
Yeah, you mentioned softball. Athletic directors love the multi-sport athletes and the multi-sport experience. Anything from your softball days stick out for you that you can share with our listeners?
I love softball too. I played travel softball for the Meta Fast Pitch All-Stars, which really grew my love for softball. very competitive team in our area. Played for our high school for my sophomore and junior year, and then decided to kind of hang that up my senior year and continued with volleyball.
Okay. We're going to talk about your college experience in the next segment, particularly your undergraduate program. But for you as a senior, what are your memories of the recruiting experience to be recruited as a college student?
Well, I say back in my day, it wasn't that long ago, but back in my day, I thought I had no shot of playing and being recruited. I loved volleyball so much. I really thought I had no chance. I was actually at a tournament for my club team playing. We were at UW Oshkosh, and the coach came up to me and was like, "Are you playing in college somewhere?" And I'm like, "Me, college? I can't do that. I'm a 5'4" setter. What are you talking about?" And he was like, "We're going to get connected. We'll talk." Like, so really it was very last minute. I remember calling my coach and being like, so these people think I can do it. Do you think we can make a video or something, get something together to send to them?" And she was like, "Absolutely." So once the season was over, she helped me do all that, send the video. And I know it's a lot more intense now, but I really went from someone who was like, "I have no shot at playing college. I'm doing this for fun. I love the game. I give it my all every time, but I'm just a little short setter. They don't want me." But they love my hustle, and that got me connected to Oshkosh and what drove me there.
Yeah, hustle can really I don't want to say make up, but it's certainly something any coach in any sport is going to be looking for, Very
Absolutely.
cool. Our guest today is MaKynna Lesinski. She's a teacher, she's a coach, she's at Roshalt High School. It's in Wisconsin. We're going to go and take our first break, but we're coming back with more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Hometown Ticketing for their support. Hometown is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more, but I'm going to. If you go to hometownticketing.com, their team is going to show you how to set up and sell tickets online, not just for your athletic events, but for things like school plays and concerts, school dances, even graduation. And here's the best part. Every school gets assigned a dedicated client success manager that's going to provide you hands-on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com for more information. It's digital ticketing that offers more. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just love the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes love the videos, our parents love the streaming, but there is so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today is MaKynna Lesinski. MaKynna, you kind of took us through your formative years growing up, high school, volleyball player. Now you're off to college. What was that like? Did you know right away that you wanted to become a teacher and jump right into that program, or did it take a while for that idea to gel?
Okay, yeah. Actually, both of my parents are teachers. So at a very young age, I was playing school with my stuffed animals in the basement and my dolls, and had a little playroom that was schoolroom. So I actually knew from a young age that I really wanted to go into teaching. I didn't specifically know what. Like I talked about previously, sports are a huge part of my life. I love all sports, honestly. That's what grew me into wanting to become a physical education teacher. So I knew kind of from the get-go I wanted to go into physical education, kind of let other teach students that like your love for sports is so much more than excuse me, just like playing the sport. There's so much more to be behind it. There's so many lessons, there's so much technique, a lot of different things that I wanted to be able to have my experience and my positive experience and make sure other kids feel that same way and they can connect to sports.
Well, I'm right there with you. I remember, I can still remember, even though it was 100 years ago, when I was in high school, I just had some great, physical education teachers, and a lot of different games and sports that they rolled out is very creative. I mean, they had us doing gymnastics and other stuff. Um, and I thought to my senior year, I'm going, God, this would be a pretty cool job. And I wasn't sure that I wanted to be a teacher, but I just knew how much I love sports and games, and that I didn't want to work for a living. So it was just a natural to follow that PE route and start coaching. Um, as you look back on, it's not 100 years ago for you, but as you look back on your undergraduate experience, are there any courses or internships or anything experience wise that really stick out for you that it made you say, yeah, this is what I want to do?
I would say I had a lot of those points throughout college in general. I met a good core group of friends that we were all Phi Ed majors, so that was super fun. We had some fun classes, like as being in college, we're taking a dance class all together and just having an hysterical time with that. Um, there were a lot of different like moments where like this is really cool. We would go to the YMCA with kids who were actually homeschooled and teach their Phi Ed class to them. So the kids seeing their excitement to be with us every day, like whether we're playing catch with the football or playing serving a volleyball, like they were so thrilled to be there. They loved it. Whenever they mastered a skill, they were so excited and so happy and wanted a high five and celebrate. And we just kind of all had that aha moment, like, okay, this is cool. This is something like we're here for the kids, and knew that it would be a good career path.
Yeah, again, I'm right there with you. We had a number of experiences similar to that, when I was going through my program, and it's hard to explain. At least it is for me to teachers of other disciplines how much fun physical
Yeah,
education is.
it really is. Yeah.
I'm just going, wow, this is so cool. Um, from a coaching standpoint, was that also something that you knew you wanted to do, or did that come later?
Yeah, I knew I always wanted to coach. I helped out with the travel team, and even when I student taught towards the end of my senior year, I helped out with actually, I went back to Spash, my high school, and helped coach like one of their freshman teams. So that was really fun, not only at Spash, but to get a little bit of coaching in. So I knew that I wanted to coach. I actually knew like the moment we lost our last game in volleyball as a senior, as soon as that was done, like my first thought was, I'm gonna coach like someday. Like I'm not done. This isn't over. Like trying to make myself calm down from the loss. I'm like, it's not done. You're maybe done playing, but you're gonna coach. Like, so I knew that I wanted to coach for a long time.
Oh, that's so cool. And you got to go back to your school. Now, I tell the story all the time. Right out of college, I was a substitute teacher, and I made it back to my high school as a substitute. And I remember walking in the back then it was the teachers' lounge. I think they're still smoking cigarettes. Um, and here's all my old teachers, all my old coaches, and they turn around and they go, "You became a teacher?" What was your experience like going back to your high school there as a coach?
It was fun. Like I have a lot of good connections, even with some of my closest friends now. It's crazy because we still hang out. She was my mentor. I was her first student that she ever had. I student taught with her. And now we like go to concerts together. We hang out, we go to movies together. Like we're friends now. But back then, if you told me, hey, you're going to become really close friends with your gym teacher, your middle school gym teacher, I would have been like, you're joking. Like, no, but now she's so great. And a lot of the teachers were like, oh, like we knew you'd be a teacher. That's awesome. It's really positive for me. So
Oh,
that was a good
that,
thing.
and again, that's good. And mine, they were somewhat tongue in cheek, although maybe a couple were pretty surprised that I became a teacher. But no, I'm right there with you. Um, as you were nearing the end of your undergrad year, okay, what were your thoughts? Was it, boy, I'm love the college lifestyle. I want to start my master's. I need to get a job. I got to start, making some money. What was your thought process?
So I graduated the winter of 2018. And so mid-year, kind of hard to find a secure a job anyway. So I went back and I full term substituted for actually the Stevens Point School District. So not just my high school, but all the elementaries, wherever they needed me. And that was fun to be back, see the kids that I saw throughout my student teaching, and now I'm subbing for their teacher, and they remembered me, I remembered them. It was good. And I actually regretted not being able to study abroad because it would push my graduation day way back. So I actually left in June of 2019 and I went and taught in Australia for a school term. So I forgot to mention I did that, but I went to Australia and taught for their FIAD classes, which was a crazy cool experience because you learn all about footy and rugby and all these games that you know about here, but you don't really know the rules, or cricket, the games they're so into. So I actually did that. So I worked, but it was also a little like travel experience for
Sure.
me as I'm a big traveler and I love traveling.
We've had a number of guests on before that have done that. They've gone international and they never come back. Okay. What was there ever a tug there about, hey, this is pretty cool. I may become an Aussie?
Yes. Um, Fortunately for me, I bought a two-way ticket, so I knew the day I was coming home when my visa was going to expire. So that kind of countdown in my mind of seeing my family and friends again. I was like, okay. But if you recall back to December of 2019, that was when all of the fires broke out in Australia. And then, of course, is when COVID happened.
Mhm.
So I actually got home maybe a week before the fires hit, and my friends that were staying there a little bit longer, Australia actually, like the embassy reached out to them and was like, hey, this virus named COVID-19 is happening. We're going to go on lockdown. We don't know how long it's going to be. If you want to get home, I suggest you get a ticket within the next week. So they all went back home. So ironically, it worked out for me that my ticket, I knew when I was coming home, and it happened before these things happened in our world. But every day I tell my boyfriend, my family, my sister, like, I gotta go back there. I loved it. It was so amazing.
No, I understand completely what you're talking about. So I appreciate you sharing that little nugget. We're going to go and take another break. Our guest today is MaKynna Lesinski. She's a teacher, she's a coach in Wisconsin. We're going to take that break here from our sponsors, but we're coming back with more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd like to say thanks to Snap Raise for their support of the podcast. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with great success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. Mention the podcast. That's snapraise.com. We also want to say thank you to our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. Start creating world-class content on your school's social media platform. Your student athletes are on social media, so are a lot of their parents. And if they're not seeing content promoting their accomplishments and celebrating your program, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. It's so easy, even I can do it. That's Gipper.com. We want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to talk about your school's unique history and celebrate your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to say thank you to the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. This is an affordable 20-month, totally online program that also includes 11 NIAAA leadership training courses for the same cost. Now, I didn't get my master's at Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, and it was a great experience. For more information, all you have to do is go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. MaKynna, you've made me kind of jealous. A great, journey that you've been on so far, and you're still at the beginning of your career. Um, as we said at the top of the show, you're a teacher. You've been a coach at Roshalt High School. That's in Roshalt, Wisconsin. Physical education. You were hired also as the head volleyball coach. Take us through the first season or two. What was that like coming in as admittedly, a young coach? What are some of the things that you did, let's say in those first 90 days, that first season?
Yeah. So coming in, of course, being a young volleyball player myself, I'm like, oh, I know it all. I can do it. It'll be great. It'll be a breeze. I learned very quickly that coaching and playing are very different. Which is funny because you think like, oh, you've played, you know what to do, but I had to really like structure my practice plans, my strategies. I had to tailor it to watching other teams film. There's so much behind the scenes to coaching that a lot of people don't realize. They think you just kind of show up, you coach, and then you leave. But that is not what happens. It is on your mind almost 24/7 when you're not at school, when you're at school. You're constantly worrying about that next opponent. So it took up a lot of my time, which I'm not complaining about because I love volleyball. So it took up a lot of time. I realized that being a varsity coach, it comes with a lot of responsibility, a lot of administration type things you have to do that, again, the regular person doesn't really realize. But first year, drawing a blank, first year, that would have been 4 years ago, the job opened up. They knew I liked volleyball, so they gave me a call and were like, hey, would you like to apply? I'm like, absolutely, let's do this. Like I said earlier, as soon as I lost my senior year sectional game, I thought in my head, I'm coaching varsity one day. Like that is a goal of mine. It's such a big goal and it'll happen. So I thought like, oh my gosh, like one of my dreams is coming true. I'm going to be a varsity coach. So that was really cool for me.
We love to see, as ADs, we love to see that enthusiastic, former player, come into our program, high energy. And admittedly, I think most ADs understand, okay, this isn't a Hall of Fame coach right now. They can become one, but we need to provide them some resources. So again, what was that like for you? Did you have assistant coaches? Was there, let's say, an experienced assistant coach that could offer advice? Were you in charge of the entire program, JV, freshman? What was that experience like from a support system?
Yeah, so I was in charge of the entire program. Thankfully, my coaches that were already involved kind of knew the ropes. So whenever I had a question, they were phenomenal. I always say I would have never made it through the first year or two without them. Even the little reminders of like, hey, did you post next week's schedule out for parents? And I'm like, oh shoot, I have to do that. And they're like, yeah, parents like to know that. Just a heads up, not adding more to your plate. Just want to give you a reminder. And I'm like, no, thank you so much for telling me. Keep telling me when I need to do things and stuff like that. So I had great support through my coaching staff throughout that.
There's an expression, we use it in the AD world a lot. I'm sure other professions use it, kind of talking about a newcomer. You don't know what you don't know. And you've just ran through that list of, becoming that first time head coach. Oh gosh, I need to send out a reminder to parents because you've never done that before. Um, Since this is the educational AD podcast, I'm putting you on the spot here. We didn't talk about this. What sort of support did you get from your athletic director as a first year head coach?
Yeah, my athletic director was awesome. He is a great person. He did a lot of help for me. When I had a question, I could call him, text him, email him, and he would get back to me. So the support I had there throughout my whole time, I had the same athletic director. It was very good support.
You know, um, Here's a question I'd love to ask. Again, you mentioned your parents were teachers. You used to play school as a kid. You knew you wanted to be a coach. Can you think back to maybe it was a moment in high school, in a high school game, or maybe it was a college course or something? And again, admittedly, you're still at the beginning of your career, but can you think of a moment that at the time it really didn't seem like much? But now, as a veteran coach, as a veteran teacher with many more years in front of you, can you look back at that one moment and say, hey, that was significant. That was important to me.
Yeah, people talk about like winning conference and back like when I went to Spash, this is going to be kind of a little humble brag. We were very well known for sports. So I don't want to say we felt entitled, but that goal to win conference was always like, oh, let's win conference. And now when I became a coach, I'm like, that's hard. That is tough. Holy crap. We took that for granted. Like my second season with Rochelle, actually, they haven't won conference since 2008. And we were able to do it in 2022. And that was phenomenal. Like as a coach, I am like, this is amazing. And I can't stop posting about this. I can't stop talking about this. Like I will remember this forever. And back in the day, it was just kind of like, oh yeah, we won. That's so much of a bigger deal than what we made it out to be back then.
No, you're absolutely right. And I know what you're talking about. I was very fortunate as an athletic director to be at some schools. We had great kids, we had great coaches, we had great support. And most of the time, in most of the sports, we knew we were going to win that district. Well, for us, it was district and
That's
then
right.
on to region and then state. But having been a coach for a long time and been in situations, sometimes that district runner-up trophy, that's the most precious thing in the world.
Yep.
We got
Means just
second.
as
We finally
much.
got
Yes.
second. And then other times you want to throw it in the ditch because you're expecting to win conference.
Yeah.
So, uh, MaKynna, we're going to do a lot more, but we'll do this also at the end of the podcast. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit, because I know you're really big in social media too. Or they just wanted to add you to their network. We always talk about the importance of networking. What's the best way that someone can get a hold of MaKynna Lesinski?
Yeah, absolutely. I am on a bunch of different social media platforms. My personal email that you could reach out to is going to be Lesinski McKenna at gmail.com. So that's just my last name, first name at Gmail. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok. I have a teacher TikTok and a personal TikTok, but any way you want to reach out to me, I'd gladly let you pick my brain a little bit.
Okay. And I don't know if you mentioned that you're on LinkedIn. I haven't checked out your TikTok yet. I guess that's going to be
Oh,
my next stop. Okay.
yeah.
We're going to take another break. Obviously, our guest today is MaKynna Lesinski, teacher, coach, social media guru. But let's hear from a couple more sponsors. We'll be back with more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an AD was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also used it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile and their customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest, obviously, is MaKynna Lesinski. If you're an athletic director listening to this, you're probably thinking, hey, I'd like to have somebody like MaKynna as my volleyball coach in my program. As I mentioned at the top of the show, MaKynna and I connected. She, a couple of months ago, very bravely posted on one of the Facebook AD sites that she was stepping away from her position as the varsity volleyball coach because of, and again, for athletic directors listening, big surprise, parent, we'll just say interference. Okay. MaKynna, you were very articulate in sharing that letter. Again, very brave. It's something that uh, we hate to see from any coach, but has become all too common. Can you share with our listeners, I guess maybe the events that led up to your decision to step away from coaching for this year? We definitely want to get you back coaching.
Yeah. So just kind of in general, the world of coaching has changed tremendously. I don't know when that flip happened or why it happened even. I still pick my brain about like how can we fix this? But what I went through, and I have many friends all over the United States that coach all different varsity level sports. They are going through the same thing. It's kind of this little bit sense of like entitlement that I'm on the team, I'm going to play no matter what. I'm not going to put in any effort. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to give you 80%, not 110%. And it that really like, I guess I don't know how to put it, made me think of like, wow, when did this flip happen? Because when I was younger, if I wasn't getting playing time and I went to my parents and I said, hey, Dad, I'm not starting, like, oh, I'm so angry. And he would look at me and say, well, MaKynna, when do you want to go to the gym and when do you want to get better? Maybe if the coach said you're not serving well, when do you want to go serve a bucket of balls? We'll go set up a net. It was more of like, what are you going to do to get to that point rather than I'm going to go scream in the coach's face because you are not playing. I don't know what, like I said, I keep saying this. I don't know when that flip happened in coaching, but it's going on everywhere where it's kind of nobody's following the chain of command. Everyone's kind of cut at your throat about their son or daughter not starting when they're not really looking at the full picture of or asking the questions. They're assuming certain things, and it's just kind of a lack of effort, and no one wants to really earn their spot anymore. They think that it's theirs because it's theirs. So that kind of essentially is what drove me away.
Yeah, again, and I appreciate so much that you shared on Facebook and that you're sharing with our listeners today. Um, Sorry about that. We had a little recording glitch. MaKynna, you and I have spoken before we started doing this, and you shared that your administration was very supportive, which again, it makes all of us that are listening feel very good. Um, how did that work out? The very first time, and you and I haven't talked about this, but that phone call, that visit, hey, coach, you got a minute? And it's never a minute. From that first moment, how did your administration back you?
Yeah, so my administration, um, my athletic director, my principal, my superintendent, extremely amazing support throughout this whole thing. Whenever I had an issue or something that I thought would be kind of a problem that I'm trying to pick it out before it's actually a problem, I'd be like, hey, this happened. I had this talk with this athlete. You might be getting a call because they didn't like what I had to say, or they may twist the story. We know how that happens, but they were always great support. Whenever I had concerns, I always liked to meet with I wanted to have my assistant coach there because they're there just as much as I am. My athletic director, I would like to have the athlete present because if I'm there and it's something, a call on me and I'm able to defend myself, I want the athlete to also to be there to defend themselves if something is brought up that maybe we need to talk about. So I love having the athlete there. And then if our principal wanted to be there or the parents suggested that they wanted them there, I would have that. So we'd have kind of like a whole room of people. I never wanted to single people out, talk one-on-one. And I always made sure someone was with me just to like protect myself. Just because, people can say one thing and do the other. So I always liked that support from my admin whenever an issue did arise or getting kind of ready for one to arise. They were always there and supportive and were able to listen and give advice, whether it was they agreed with me, something I could do that could maybe help that athlete maybe come across better, but they were always a good support system. So I'm very thankful for that.
That's just so cool to hear that you had that support, not just from your AD, but your principal and your superintendent. And yet, you still came to that decision, and it's a tough decision for anybody to step away from coaching for this year. That's how it played out.
Yeah, so it's not a forever thing. I love volleyball and I actually with resigning it just too much of the entitlement. My kid deserves this, but they don't do this. When the script flipped, I said, okay, there are bigger opportunities for me out there. This was my dream at one point, and I'm so thankful that I got the opportunity to get experience doing this. I won a conference championship my second year, and like I said, that was amazing. That was a high I'll never get over. But now I am open to bigger opportunities within the club volleyball world, which will be expanding and broadening my connections that way.
Well, certainly want to wish you all the best in your continued endeavors, and you're still teaching at Rothschild. So who knows? Maybe the book's not closed on that chapter either. But again, sounds like you did a great job with your admin. Just had some frustrating parent experiences. MaKynna, this has just been so cool to connect with you, to add you to my network. But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you're not an athletic director yet, but
Yes. Yep.
you certainly know your way around the world of athletics. So we're going to take our final break, hear from a couple of sponsors. And when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new AD or a brand new coach on the very first job. And I'm only going to let you put 3 items in the toolbox. So let's take that break. And when we come back, we're going to find out what MaKynna Lesinski is going to put into her new athletic director or new coach toolbox. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thank you to Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, reporting scores, uploading rosters, communication. How about student athlete eligibility and clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus does all of these things and more, and it does them better and it does them faster. And to get started, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic directors already get feedback, but typically it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And that information is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with a new friend, MaKynna Lesinski. She's a longtime teacher and coach in Wisconsin. But right now, I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new leader on the very first job, but I'm only going to let her put 3 items in the toolbox. So, MaKynna, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
I would say in my new athletic director toolbox, number one would be always be open to learning new things, whether it's new tools, new strategies, new technologies that can build your program or build multiple athletics within your program. That's huge. Number two, I would say build genuine connections with your athletes. Genuine interests, find things that you can talk about that's not your sport. For example, I'm a huge Green Bay Packer fan, so me and my students and athletes always bond over the Packers. Be empathetic, like always be approachable and have build that sense of comfort that they're willing to come to you, whether it's on the court or off the court, to talk. Maybe they have a life problem they want advice on. Be someone that's open and empathetic that they can relate to and talk to, and you can kind of help them through that, even if it has nothing to do with athletics. And lastly, I think networking is huge. So like join different groups, be in different organizations, find alumni, friends at different schools, collab with different people. Always want to expand your network, because the more people you know in the network, the better connections you'll be able to make. So those would be my 3 tools to throw in my toolbox.
Oh, I love them all. I always tell, young ADs, old ADs when I speak to them that, networking is probably one of the most important things that you can do. But I also loved how you talked about building connections with your student athletes. Great advice for somebody who's just starting their career. MaKynna, we mentioned this earlier, but one more time, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your mind a little bit more, or just add you to their network, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So if you want to reach out via email, it would be Lesinski McKenna@gmail.com is just my personal email. Otherwise, McKenna Lesinski, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm there. I have a teacher account and a personal account. Message me on either, and I would gladly connect with more people out there.
And McKenna's also on LinkedIn. We don't want to forget that.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, that too.
Well, McKenna, one more time, thanks for coming on and sharing. I know it's a busy time for you with getting ready for school. All the best moving forward. And we're going to have to get you back on the podcast down the road.
That sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. For listeners, we want to say thanks to you for tuning in and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day, sharing stories and best practices. So hope you come back and join us again for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.